My golly, that's unusual. That little one, he's going to hold his body, going to hold that shell up there on that. See, he's coming around the edge of that rock, that brick.
Yeah. Going to look for a place to hide.
Well, I don't guess it was hid on that gate out there.
Taught him a lesson.
I suppose they must undoubtedly just draw into that shell. You know, for hiding, you're talking about hiding.
Yeah, that's what it's for, but it's a thin shell. But it keeps them away from insects and stuff.
You got that running?
Yeah. So you went to the Army in 44?
Went there in 1944, June of 44. And from there we went to Camp Walters, Texas. Was inducted at Camp Walters.
Where's that at?
I don't know, somewhere down around Abilene, I think. I mean, in that vicinity. I'm not
From
sure.
Dallas, they took you to Fort Walters, and then they took you back to Fort Hood?
Well, we went to Camp Walters. Was our
Camp Walters.
Camp Walters was somewhere out in there around Abilene, I believe. Of course, when we left Dallas, we were recruits. We wasn't even inducted. We wasn't inducted until we got to Camp Walters. And then they inducted us, and from there, then we went to Fort Hood.
You didn't take an oath or anything until you got to Camp Walters?
No, that was where we was inducted.
Because they do all that now wherever they recruit you.
Well, back then they didn't. In other words, there was a group of us coming from every direction, converging on Camp Walters. And they got us in there, and I'll best I can remember. I don't. It's just a memory, you know. They lined us up there, and there was a barracks full of us. And they put us all up in the upstairs barracks. And they invited, apparently, a sergeant, I figured from the way it appeared afterwards.
Okay.
They brought a sergeant from another outfit over there to make us a pep talk. The first night we was there, before we ever put on any civilian clothes or anything. I don't remember, it was maybe, but no, I guess we done sworn in, I don't remember. But anyhow, we was up in the barracks and all of us were still in our regular civilian clothes. And this sergeant, in my words, my way of saying it, he told us, he said, you know, the way I would say it, if you were at home, you might have been mama's baby, but here you're a damn nuisance. The sooner you find it out, the better off we all are. Just in other words, what he was saying. Well, the reason I say they invited him from somewhere else, we never did see that guy no more.
They didn't want anybody in there that you'd see again.
Yeah, that's what I said. They didn't want anybody making talk like that because they're afraid some of us, you know, take it to heart. Anyhow, then we stayed around Camp Walters there a few days. I don't remember just how long. And got hooked up on KP a few days and messed around there. I just remember I had to wash dishes one day in particular. And we had been washing trays and stuff all morning, and you know, and about 11 o'clock, some inspector and officer come through there, and that day he got mad, and we had to redo everything we'd done. And a few days in, they loaded us on a bus and took off. They wouldn't tell us where we was going or nothing. Well, some of the boys knew. I think we got it Stevensville or something. They stopped or something, and some of the boys got off and called their folks and told them where we was headed. Going to Fort Hood. They had just figured where we were going. I didn't know where we were going.
They knew the directions, yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, we went to Fort Hood. We got down there about, well, I don't know, it must have been 1 or 2 o'clock. Anyhow, they told us to go in there and clean up some barracks. And they would get us something to eat. We got the barracks kitchens cleaned up that they had told us to clean up. Kept sitting around there waiting on something to eat. It getting about 4 o'clock, and we hadn't had anything to eat. And we'd give in and get busy. And I don't remember just what we got, but we finally got a little something or other. But it was supper time before we got it. And they of course, they started that line to us, you know, that they first told us that they was fixing us something to eat over there, and they got us to clean this kitchen up for this barracks. And then we got assigned to a barracks. Sometime, I don't remember just how, but anyhow, for a few days, they were waiting on enough of I guess, to start a cycle of training, apparently. But while we was there waiting, we did odd jobs, and I remember get caught on a detail to go maybe deliver groceries on a truck or ice or various other things, stand guard, and stuff like that. But we were just at odd jobs until our cycle of training started. Don't remember exactly when it started, but we finished up September, October. We must have finished up in September, the last part of September.
Did you take any infantry training there? Or
That was IRTC, was what it was. It was Infantry Replacement Training Center. And we had 17 weeks of it.
17 weeks that you were there.
17 weeks that we were there in Fort Hood.
What was called boot camp, though? You didn't progress on to another school. You had the same drill instructor.
Yeah, all the time.
All the
Of
time.
course, I say all the time, what we had the same sergeant in charge of us, but they'd take us to different classes. Every 50 minutes we changed class for about 8 hours. They'd take us over here for this class, we'd have an instructor with it, and then they'd do like a school,
But was that a drill sergeant or whatever you had, did he go to Germany with you?
No, he was a cadre, what they call a cadre. Yeah. He stayed there and he took on another cycle of men after we left. Or maybe, I don't know what they did, but that was, they had finished the cycle somewhere else or something.
Yeah.
But he was pretty well sure he's going to stay there for our cycle. And we dealt with him all the time, He actually, I think, had put something like a sergeant in charge of each barracks or something to that effect, something like that. Morning when they went to wake us up, he was the guy that did that. He was the guy that took care of everything. He had billets in the place with us. Only he had a special room, and everything. And he just stayed in there with us. Of course, if he took off or somebody else took care of things, like he had to go, if he went off on weekend or anything, somebody else took over his duties, kind of halfway overseas it. And then we had what we call our headquarters over there, a captain and charge of quarters, CQ was on all the time. But this sergeant, whoever was in charge of our barracks, he didn't necessarily have a CQ, but then usually somebody's brown nosing around there all the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
But really, we trained there for 17 weeks. And I remember some of the classes we sat in, we would just go out there, man, this hot as blue blazes out there. And one time they run us across the field there with full field packs. And we stacked, I had it carrying our rifles and everything. We stacked our arms and full field packs and went in a building to see a film. And we was in there probably 15, 20 minutes. And I remember the boy sitting next to me, he told me he got sick and he was going outside, he had to vomit. And about 15, 20 minutes, they opened the door and hauled everybody out, and there was over a third of our outfit laying out there that done passed out.
So hot?
Yeah, so hot. IG come along and seen it, and he made the captain put us over there under barracks and talk to us the rest of the day. He wouldn't let them put us back in this building.
Mm-hmm.
And they said it was 117 degrees in the shade.
This was in July? Probably.
I don't remember, July, August, sometime, in the hot season down there. I don't remember just what time of the month it was. But then by the time we got finished, it done began to kind of cool off, began to get a little more reasonable.
Yeah.
And then several other boys, like J.R. Clifton, he came in there, and he took his training. Now, he got there, it might have been there 3 weeks when I left. So he got caught probably in better conditions than we did for eating on. But it wasn't too miserable when we got down there. June, it hadn't really got hot like it did later on in the year. And of course we had quite a deal there with that. And then when we finished our training, we was given a 30-day delay en route to, I think it was Camp Edwards, Massachusetts, where they sent us to. Your order said that we were to report to Camp Edwards, Massachusetts in 30 days.
Mother sent all her letters to Fort Meade, Maryland. Was that just a place where you sent your letters? On all those addresses where she was talking about sending you letters in Fort Meade, Maryland, I think.
Well, where did I say?
You said Camp Edwards, Massachusetts.
Camp Edwards, I believe, is where we went. Now, I'm not sure, but I believe that we went to Camp Edwards first. Maybe I've got it mixed up. Maybe.
Well, Fort Meade could very well just be where all the mail was funneled through to go to that area.
Well, we wasn't there but just a day or two. So she didn't send very many letters there.
In here, it looks like there was, there must have been days of, there must have been a couple of months where you didn't have an address in Germany.
Well, it
was
wasn't.
up until February, something like that. She was.
See, I was in the hospital. That's the reason I didn't have an address.
She kept sending an address to Prudy here about somewhere in Maryland for a while there.
Well, that might have been. I don't remember.
But that could have been just where they sent all the mail going overseas.
Maybe I've forgotten.
Yeah, Fort George, Meade, Maryland. But this is replacement depot number 1. So yeah, that's probably all the mail going to Company B, 31st Brigade, 8th Regiment, AGF, replacement depot number 1. So that could have been just mail going overseas.
Like I said, it's been too long, and I ain't got no. I always said that we went to Camp Edwards. Well, which one would have been the closest to Washington, D.C.?
Fort Meade.
Well, maybe I may be wrong then, because me and Ross Aiken, boy from Texarkana, went together, and when we got to Washington, D.C., how far would Camp Edwards have been from Washington, D.C.?
I'm not sure, at least a couple hundred miles. Let me get the road atlas again.
He stayed in Washington, D.C., and I went on out scout. Now we were both broke, and but he stayed in Washington D.C. the night we got there. He said, "I'm going to stay here," and how far would Massachusetts been? That's what it was. That's what we went into Fort Meade from when we went in. And then we went to Camp Edwards to wait to ship out. That's what it was. That's what we got to. We went to Camp Edwards after we was at Fort Meade. Now there's where I'm getting mixed up at. Well, really, I guess my first stop was at Fort Meade, Maryland.
Yeah.
And then from there over to Camp Edwards. But I know Ross got in a different outfit with me because I went on out that night to camp, and he waited till the next morning to come out. He spent his night in Washington, D.C. And that threw us in different, they was organized an outfit just they come in, get enough men, they'd form a.
So that company address was not necessarily where you were going to be, it was just a.
It was just a hole in the air, And I don't remember, I forgot just how long we were there. That's what I can't remember. But anyhow, Camp Edwards was where we was at when he was gambling. He was bad about gambling. And at Camp Edwards, he gambled and won a good bit of money. And it seemed to me that we were there a week or so. I don't know just how long. I don't remember just how long we were there. But then they shared us from there to Boston and put us on a boat. We loaded out of Boston to Europe. And I don't remember the date-wise, but it was the first part of December. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, we got into Liverpool, England on the 14th day of December, 1944.
This is a world atlas.
Well, like I said, I can't tell you. And then they took us by train from Liverpool down to Southampton. We landed in Liverpool. And they loaded us on trains and took us down to Southampton, which was just across the channel there from Le Havre in France. Mm-hmm. We were just across the channel. And we were supposed to run across the channel. I think some of the boys did go across. But we were supposed to, the outfit I was with, was supposed to run across, and they said something about they sunk Army headquarters of some army out there in the channel. And they delayed our going across until either Christmas or New Year's, and I can't remember just exactly which, but we went across the channel. When we landed in Le Havre, they were eating some kind of a dinner, Christmas dinner, or I'm almost sure it had to have been New Year's Day dinner. I can't be sure, but it was one or the other, because we seen them, you know, and they told us that them boys was eating their holiday dinner. And we stayed there. Well, the reason I said that, when Southampton, while we were there, Christmas Day of '44, I got about 3 donuts and a cup of coffee was what I had for dinner. Mm-hmm. That was my Christmas dinner. Besides stealing some sea rations. They didn't even try to feed us. Really, to be honest about it, you know, the way they did it. But anyhow, that was our dinner, and my dinner rather, for 1944.
So you didn't have a commanding officer or anything at this time, did you?
Well, really, yes and no. We had, hell, they were shipping them officers just like they was us. They was a
But you weren't a formed unit yet, so there was nobody to take care of you to see whether you were supposed to be fed or not.
Well, now that I don't know about that. We were just being shipped. We were being moved. Yeah. We had a squad tent full of commissioned officers that slept right by the side of us on Christmas Eve night of '44. And we stayed up all night messing around. About midnight, I went down and stole a case of sea rations, brought them down there. But they had a little old coke stove in each squad tent. Now, I don't remember how many boys was in the tent, but about 8 or 10, I think, usually, you know, in the squad tent. And I went down and stole a case of these sea rations, and we ate on them things during the night. And the next morning, they fell us out there to have a roll call, and these commissioned officers come around and they said, "Now, boys," said, "y'all kept us up all night last night." Said, "We hope you don't do that no more." Said, that was eating out we got for keeping them awake that night. But anyhow, they loaded us up there and carried us over there and put us on a boat across the channel. And when we hit Le Havre in there, wherever, right at Le Havre, I don't remember the exact location, but I think they said it was Le Havre where we come in at. They loaded us on trains. Well, that Belgian Bull started while we were there in Southampton. I believe they claim it started on the 17th of December.
Oh, the Battle of the Bulge.
Yeah, what they call the Battle of the Bulge. And it was might say a final push for Adolf Hitler and his men, you know, before they made an all-out push there. And we kind of stuffed it. I say we, the Allied Army, kind of put a break on them and stopped them there.
But you were lucky you went into the hospital there.
Well, that's what I said. I would have probably wound up with the infantry outfit if I hadn't. But I got sick, really. I was sick there in Le Havre. When we hit Le Havre, I almost down with the flu. And I did take it. They loaded us on a train, and I think we were there 3 days in little old box cars, what used to be what in World War I they called 40 by 10 or 40 by 12 or something like that. It meant 40 men and 10 horses. That's what the 40 by 10 meant was, you know. But anyhow, they had us in them little old cars. And the only heat we had, every once in a while, they'd come around about every 3 or 4, 8, 6, 8 hours. They'd come around and throw 3 or 4 of them little old wax candles in there to us. And it was below zero all the time. And we didn't even have room to lay down. We only barely had room to stand up and to sit down. There were so many men in the car. But anyhow, we stayed in there about 3 days, getting us across over wherever they're taking us. And I don't know where they're taking us.
This is across France.
Yeah, across France. We wound up in there close to Metz, in the vicinity of Metz, France, but I don't know exactly where.
That's in northern France, isn't it?
Well, I would say I don't know. No, it wouldn't be northern France. I don't believe. I believe you'd call it western France. Metz is down below Paris. We went through Paris on the route to where we went to. I just remember that much because there were two or three boys would pull into Paris, and then, of course the train would go a little way, and then it'd stop and stay stopped a long time, you know, and then it'd go a little way and stop. But anyhow, it stopped in Paris. Then a bunch of boys jumped off there, they were determined to see what was in Paris, and they got left there in Paris. They knew that they didn't have nothing to lose because they'd go into combat anyhow, you know. But anyhow, these boys got off there, and we had a bunch of guys when we was there at La Havre there. They had some froze turkeys, and I don't remember, so two or three other things. And they was gonna. Some of the boys thought, well, we'll get them, and you know, we'll cook them later on and have something to eat. Well, they put them in duffel bags, and they had a bunch of guys in it. All of our duffel bags went in one car, and then they had a bunch of guys ride that car, you know, take care of them duffel bags. Well, a bunch of them sold them turkeys and stuff on the road to the French civilians, you know, along the roads. And when we got to where we were going, there didn't nobody have turkey, I don't think. Anyhow, that was kind of common.
Do you know how Metz was spelled, or?
M-E-T-Z, I believe is the way it's spelled.
Do you know, was Paris, say, halfway on the trip, or was Paris halfway on the trip? Did it take?
I couldn't tell you that now. I don't know about that because. But Metz was a town known in World War I too.
Oh, here it is. You're in northeastern France when you get to Metz. You're almost to the German border.
Well, like I said, I don't remember, but we were in that vicinity.
Close to Luxembourg.
Where I don't just remember, but anyhow, when we got someplace there, they unloaded us one evening, or one day, and had a roll call inspected by some general or something or other. And I had got down to where I didn't even have no voice at all, so I couldn't even talk. And they had a roll call, and I couldn't answer the roll call, and somebody got to eat out, this general eat out a bunch of guys because there was a man missing. Mm-hmm. And anyhow, when they got through this roll call and all, the inspection, they loaded us on trucks. And as best I can remember, must have been 15, 20 trucks. I don't remember just exactly. But I wound up on the only truck that didn't have a tarpaulin over it, and I was the last man on the truck, which made me in about the most uncomfortable position that you could get in, that on dang convoy.
No cover on the truck.
No cover on the truck, and right on the back end of it. Mm-hmm. But when we got, it was after night, up 8 or 9 o'clock, when we got to wherever they stopped us at. And
this was past Metz, right?
I don't know where we were at. I don't really, you know.
Well, no, you got off the train in Metz?
Well, no, I said I don't know exactly where we were at. We were in the vicinity of Metz, is all I can say.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't know where we were.
Okay.
And I got off this train, and they put me in charge of a detail building, you know, that we're going to be in. And
what rank were you by this time?
Oh, well, it was all private. Everything was going private, you know. But then they just put me in charge of this building, and the group that was in it. Well, as soon as I laid my equipment down, I took off to the medics. And I got over there, and they seen what kind of condition I was in, so they told me, said, you're going to stay here tonight. So they fixed me a stretcher there, and I went off and left all my stuff over in the room. Well, the next morning, I got up and went to get my shaving equipment, some of my personal belongings. I went over and picked up some of my personal belongings out of the building, and come back and got me something to eat, and they told me, they said, you stay here. No, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who, you know, I was taking orders from anybody to give orders. I didn't know what it was supposed to do. But anyhow, that's what I done. I stayed there. And when the evacuation hospital, when they come along to ambulance to take them to the evacuation hospital, well, they loaded me on the ambulance and carried me back to the evacuation hospital. And I stayed there until nearly the 1st of February.
Do you know when, where the evacuation hospital?
No, really I don't. All I know was we were near Metz, or maybe it was Metz, the hospital. Of course, they didn't, you know, identify any of those locations at that time. We didn't know. I didn't know.
So you were still a member of this infantry bunch that was going up?
Well, we were just replaced. We wasn't nothing. We wasn't member of nothing. But anyhow, while I was in there in convalescence, Of course, I met a lot of guys, you know, in and out from different units that come from the front line that was evacuated from the hospital, you know, that some got wounded, some got sick. But I met one boy that I had been with down at Fort Hood, and he came in, and I don't remember what, and I think he was just, had the flu or something or other, but anyhow, they brought him in there, and he told me about Homer Neal getting killed the first night he was up there. He was with Homer, I think.
So that would have only been a couple of days after you left them, right?
Well, it was, yeah, it must have been, couldn't have been but just a few days, because I'd have been less than a week, you know, from a cycle, and me in the hospital and him come in on me, and we recognized one another. We hadn't been separated long, and Homer done got killed, and apparently they just went, you know, went right on up to the front line that night after I got sick and went over to the medics. I don't know where they went. I don't know how long they was in process of moving. But anyhow, while I was working there, while I was there in convalescence, they put me over in the APO to work some. That was handling mail and sorting mail and stuff of that sort. Well, there I found my address. They had assigned me to the 87th, I believe, 87th Infantry Division. You know, in the process, I found this information. And so I believe that I wrote Martha and told her that I was in the 87th Infantry. I believe I did. Now she may have never recognized it, or
She says 31st 8th Regiment.
well, that would have been later. Now that you talking about Fort Meade?
Yeah.
Well, that would have been a good bit later. Now this would have been on up in the middle of January that I wrote her this. If she ever got the letter, or she may have got letters from me somewhere else, that letter there is 21st of February, sometime in February rather. But I don't know whether, like that, I don't know whether she may have gotten letters from me somewhere else. Not too long after I found that I had been assigned to the 87th Infantry Division, they come along and got me and put me in this cavalry outfit. Well, of course, we were just sitting there in a replacement depot. The men that had come back from the front, you know, assigned to a unit, they was going back to their units. And I wasn't even assigned to any kind of unit. I didn't know where I was going. But anyhow, when they got, every morning they'd have a roll call, and everybody that's been shipped out would be on this roll call. They looked for me several days there as Junior Berry, and I never would answer the roll call. And I'd go back in and wait till the next morning. They'd get the roll call the next morning, and I never did get those shipping orders, so I just sat there. And one morning, after they called the roll, I went back to the barracks, back to where I'd been billeted, and was sitting there, and they come through looking for Junior Berry. And I asked them who the heck they're looking for, and I looked at the order, and it was me, because they are Berry, and they thought it was Junior Berry. And when I seen the serial number and all, well, I knew it was me that they were looking for. And I told them that I was the one they were looking for, so they told me, said, come on, said they're waiting on me. Well, I got out there, and this truck was already loaded and cranked up, and everybody was on it, and they was I guess if I'd been 10 minutes later, they would have drove off, you know, without me. But it happened to be there was a replacement for this 6th Cavalry.
Yeah, you show here the Troop B of the 28th Cavalry Reconnaissance.
Yeah. Well, what's the date on that letter, though?
She says that she got a letter from you written February 6th, and I got it on February 20th.
Well, that's you know, pretty close to when the first letters that I got to send out, probably from the 6th Cavalry. And like I say, before that, I had wrote her a letter. I thought told her.
Well, this is a 28th. You're saying a 28th Cavalry here.
Well, that's right. But the 28th Cavalry Reconnaissance Squadron was a element of the 6th Cavalry group. Okay. Then they had the 6th Cavalry Reconnaissance Squadron, which was also an element of it.
Is that what you eventually got in?
No, I was with the 28th all the time.
You were Troop B.
Troop B all the time, but we was considered the 6th Cavalry group. See, a group was just like a army. I say, you know, it was a larger element than a squadron. Battalion, you had a battalion, you had a division, you know, and
so you had company, you had...
There were two two groups of
Regiment.
two 28th Cavalry Reconnaissance Squadron. There were two squadrons to the group. And there was approximately, let's see, A, B, C, D, E, and F, I believe, troops in the squadron.
Yeah, it was troop, 28th Cal. Okay. And then there was a group above cavalry, right?
A group above the squadron. A group above squadron. And then the 16th, apparently, now the 16th come in there somewhere, and I don't remember how it got in there, but it must have been an element above the 6th in somehow.
I see. So you would be Troop B of 28th Cavalry,
Reconnaissance
certain
squadron.
squadron. Yeah.
And, but we were of the 6th Cavalry group.
Of the group, okay.
And that's how that come out that way. And like I said, now the 16th, I remember something about it, but I can't remember just how it, but I think it was above the 6th. And George Patton, at one time, was commanding officer of the 6th Cavalry group. And George Patton's 3rd Army band that he used as the 3rd Army band was the 6th Cavalry band that he had taken from the 6th Cavalry.
Later on. Later on.
No, yeah, that one during his career.
So the 6th Cavalry was probably one of his.
He had
groups.
just liked
Yeah.
the 6th Cavalry band, and he took the 6th Cavalry band for his 3rd Army band.
But it was one of his. The group was probably a member of that army, of the 3rd Army.
Well, we was a member of anything. In other words, we were actually detached. And a lot of times we'd be attached to maybe the 7th Army or any of them. It just depends on where.
Okay.
But normally we were in the 3rd Army. That is, we followed along with the 3rd Army because we were doing AIS. They did AIS rather before I got to them most of the time. Practically all across France.
AIS.
Army Information Service.
Okay.
And we did it some afterwards. But then they might say, well, y'all are attached to so-and-so, and we're going to have a recon squadron go out here and do so-and-so, and we'd wind up out there fighting like the devil, you know. We didn't know what we were going to do. Now, in Erfurt, Germany, we were on strictly AIS work. That was all we was down there for, was doing the AIS work.
Erfurt.
Erfurt, Germany. That's where the Luger pistol was made. That's the town that the Luger pistol was made in.
You know how far south, or if it was around Stuttgart, or?
No, don't I don't remember just where it's at. I believe it's up further north, though. I believe you'll find it up. I just remember that artillery and all was awful heavy in there. Our artillery.
Do you know how far into the country they had pushed the Germans by the time you got to the lines?
When I got up there, it was in Luxembourg. When I went to the 6th Cavalry, we was in Luxembourg.
Okay.
And I took
so the Germans still held their border.
Yeah. I was in. We started fighting in Luxembourg. That is, I got to the unit.
Mm-hmm.
Our River. I waded the Our River on the 19th day of February, 1945. That was our first. Well, they had crossed it too before, but I mean after the Bulls. I think this was the first crossing in that area.
Should be OUR, right?
Yeah. It's a borderline between Germany and Luxembourg. If you see Luxembourg, all you got to do is look at the border between Germany and Luxembourg.
Okay.
That is the borderline.
Okay.
And then, of course, the marginal line was the French line.
Mm-hmm.
It was back in beyond Luxembourg. The Siegfried line was in front of us. It was the German line. And we fought through it. I fought through it, through the Siegfried line. But like I say, the marginal line was what the Germans broke when they invaded France.
That was actually the line that the Germans and the French had settled after World War I.
Well, yeah,
And then
they
the
built
Germans-
it just like that
Yeah.
wall, Berlin Wall is now.
And then the Germans went past that when World War II started.
Well, that was the French was depending on that marginal line, you know, being their
Yeah.
line of protection against the Germans. Well, then the Germans, in the meantime, I guess apparently had built this Siegfried line, apparently, you know, as a protection against the French. I don't know whether they built it before or after. The Siegfried line was a bunch of pyramid concrete blocks, about 2.5, 3 foot high. What of it, you know, what they really call the Siegfried line. And it must have been, 50 yards across. And they had them setting to where you couldn't get through it with vehicles or anything.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how deep in the ground it was. I don't have no idea whether they were put in the ground or just sitting on the ground or what. But to get through we had to cut a line through there, and then we went through it.
Cut a line with tanks or something?
Or something, I don't know, bulldozers, I don't know what to cut the line with, but when I went through it, it was already there. In other words, somebody had cut it in front of us. We would line up with a armored column, and in fact, the Germans always thought we were an armored column. Patton had set up an armored column to go. He would set up a bunch of small vehicles, and then they'd just gradually get larger as they went along. And if the Germans knocked out the small vehicles, well, the larger vehicles just keep coming till they, push their way on through. And then when they would see us, they would thought we were beginning of an armored column. And
because the way you were lined up, yeah.
Yeah, the way we would line up, it looked just like it. We'd have one or two Jeeps, and then we'd come along with one or two armored cars, and then maybe one or two tanks, and then behind that we'd have some more stuff, And they always would avoid it. They wouldn't, as individuals wouldn't try to attack us. But they'd wait, be waiting for the bigger stuff, and the bigger stuff never did get there.
Well, the armor columns were used for convoys as well as just making major thrusts towards.
Most usually they just made for breaking the Germans down, and that was at that time. Because Patton, he'd just take off across country with an armored column, and there's a lot of places we could see where they'd have tank duels and stuff, with the Germans. And of course, we didn't have nothing to fight in anything like that. We didn't never get involved.
Stay away from those.
Well, we didn't really stay away from them, but they knew they couldn't commit us to anything like that. We got involved in several real hot fights, but wasn't tanks. One particular time I remember out there, we were going across country, and we seen some fresh tracks, got to notice the fresh tracks, and we kept moving along there, and directly we spotted two Tiger tanks over there. And when they spotted them Tiger tanks, well, they began to retreat. We started back the other way. Well, we had a bunch of them M24 tanks. And I don't know, I guess they looked to me like there must have been 40 or 50 vehicles in our convoy. And they pulled us all back, got us back behind a ridge back there, and lined these M24s up with their gun barrels just where they protruded over the top of the ridge, where they could hide them Tigers over there. They knew darn well we didn't have nothing to fight them Tigers with. But and then all of a sudden they give us orders to run, and hell, we like to run over one another trying to get out of there, get back in the road, and get on the convoy going backwards, go right and retreat. I don't know whether the Tigers started the orders or what. They gave us orders to go, and we was getting out of there.
Were the roads in pretty good conditions for driving?
Well, most usually where we went to, of course sometimes we just take out across the country, but then the road most usually was asphalt roads look like, in lots of cases.
So in the spring you were just getting with the unit, right?
Everywhere.
If you took off across country during the spring, you were probably running into a lot of mud, getting stuck in that.
Well, we did that too. Yeah, I got stuck one time. I can't remember just when it was, but we was trying to get around a hill. There was a road on a hill, and the officer that come to me, he didn't want to try to go around that road because he figured it'd be mined. And there was a big valley, a green valley out through there, and he told me, he said, well, just take off down through there. I said, well, hell, I took off down through there in my Jeep, and I got out there a little ways and began to pull down on me. I had to change gears and put it in four-wheel drive, and I went as far as I could go. And when I got as far as I could go, they sent an armored car out there. All our bigger vehicles had winches on them. They sent an armored car out there, going to winch me out in that armored car. He couldn't get them in, so he just got close enough to hook the cable on me, and then he went down. And then they sent a half-track out after him. I think they had 4 or 5 vehicles lined up there, stuck off, trying to get me to pull me out of that valley down there. This officer, he was trying to get around there for something, man. I wasn't my officer. I don't remember now who the officer was. It wasn't even my officer.
But that sounds like a very, very good place for an ambush.
Well, it was, but what this officer was trying to avoid was getting up there on a landmine. He figured that they knew that valley we couldn't get across it, but we could get around that road, and so he said, he just told me, he said, I want to go around this, around this valley, around that hill.
How'd you eventually get around it? Did you go
I don't know, because I was busy trying to get my vehicle out, and the time they got me out there, they'd done around it. I don't know how they done it, what they done. He left me, when I got stuck, he left me, he went on some other source, but how he went, I don't know.
You just had to catch up with them when they took off like that?
Well, yeah, you did catch up with them. On one occasion there, Well, on one particular day I remember, and I don't remember where we were at or what. We started out that morning, and we were on some gravel road, and there wasn't but 3 vehicles. No, there was, at the beginning there was more than that. But we started out, and we come up to a roadblock. We were on an asphalt road. We come up to an asphalt road. We didn't go a little ways, so we made a sharp left turn, pretty sharp. And right in this turn, they had a roadblock. They cut trees and pulled across that. Well, we never did try to remove them because of the landmines and stuff like that. We just detoured and went around. Well, there was a little country road like out there in the woods. Went up there to a little building and made a right turn right out, made a left-hand 90 degrees. Come back into this road. Well, this road is kind of circle, cut that off. Well, we decided we'd go up that way and go around that roadblock, and continue on. Well, we got started up through there, and there's a bunch of German dismounted men attacked us. Well, we had, I believe, 2 or 3 army cars with us, 2 or 3 jeeps. I don't remember just how many, but I know we got about 6 or 8, 10 prisoners there in that woodage. That's where I got that dagger knife. I took it off of a German lieutenant, a large German officer from. They said he was the officer in charge of the outfit. Had tried to capture us.
But did everybody get souvenirs like that? Did most people collect souvenirs like that? I mean,
if they could, yeah.
The lieutenant never would try to ask somebody to give him a souvenir from somebody. How did you end up with a knife instead of your captain or whoever was in charge?
Oh, God, there wasn't nobody there. I was the one that was in charge. I had the gun on the off. Took it away from him.
Oh, when you took it away from him.
It wasn't, you know, you didn't, was no rank line to that.
Well, no, you were just the only one around at the time.
There was several around, but I was the one that had the gun on the officer, and I was the one that, I took I don't believe you ever seen it, but he had a leather pouch that he carried on his side, and his orders was in it. Mm-hmm. Well, I could read enough of the German to know how many men he had and all, you know, the things that he had in his. I guess it what would have been considered a daily report.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I got that, and I got that gun, and I mean that knife, and that was about all souvenirs really I got off him, and I wasn't considering it a souvenir at the time. I just collected.
No, you were disarming him, yeah.
I just disarming him. But anyhow, we loaded them on the back of an armored car, and then we started on. After we got past this roadblock, we started on down this blacktop road, and I don't remember. We didn't get very far until that's where I got this Panzerfaust thrown at me. I was leading the column. And there were 2 Germans stepped out behind a brush pile and shot this Panzerfaust at us, which was I'd say a projectile about the size of a football. And they had it on the end of a pipe, and when they shot it, it was an armor-piercing projectile, you know, what do you call them, a bazooka type element.
Armor-piercing. Yeah.
And they shot it at us, and the old boy in the back seat of my Jeep, he was supposed to have been the gunner on the back gun. He said he seen it coming and said it was coming right at us, and he laid down in the seat. You could see it just about, it traveled just about like a football. Well, I got a glimpse of it out of my left eye, you know, as it come towards us. But anyhow, it exploded. Come on, no, we just talking. It exploded and busted my water tank on my right side of my vehicle. They shot it from the left, but it went over our vehicle. We were sitting on approximately a 2-foot embankment road, and it went over our vehicle. Now, it projected over us and get close enough to rupture my water tank. I don't know without hitting it. But anyhow, that's where I got the concussion on the side of my head. We all 3 got shook up pretty good out of it. And these prisoners was on this armored car behind us. And come on down and sit down.
Come on, Nicole.
And
not in front of the camera.
Why, yeah.
Turn it off.
But anyhow, like I was say, they when they shot at me, I run backwards. I put it in reverse and just went backwards. Well, this armored car tried to back up with these prisoners on it, and he backed off in the ditch. Well, I backed on past him, got behind him, and got my guns on them prisoners because, you know, we didn't know what would happen. They finally unloaded the prisoners, and then the prisoners undertaken to capture me. While I was sitting behind them, they was coming after me. And I got to try to get the guy in the front seat there to shoot him. He wouldn't do it, so I knocked him off of the gun, and got the gun myself and started shooting him, and then he knocked me off of the gun took it away from me. He wouldn't let me do it. But it was really, it was dangerous, but I was mad and scared too. I don't mind telling anybody. But what it was, if any German had seen us do that, they wouldn't have surrendered. Had I done it, we would have had to be careful about anything like that.
Yeah.
People, they wouldn't have surrendered. But then, anyhow, we got out of that. And after we got settled down from that, well, we went on up there to a little place just a little bit further. There was a kind of a town with a generator and stuff up there, a portable generator and stuff. It looks about like what I'd call a grocery store, and stuff. And we went on up yet, and went on down and went through to a town down there and another place. Now we got rid of our prisoners, and I can't remember. I believe while we were there at that little store line, somebody took our prisoners from us.
Well, they just stopped running at you when that other guy got on the gun, or?
They just, they knew that they had to better, but anyhow, for some reason they decided it wasn't safe to try it.
Yeah.
But anyhow, after we got rid of them somewhere there, I don't remember just how, and we worked our way on down to another town down there, and we drove into this town, and there was Germans sitting out there sunning on the south side of the buildings. They never seen us like that. We was right up on them. So ever they ever realized that, we were anywhere near. And we got about 12, 15 prisoners. They pulled them out there and put them in a barn behind us. It had a bunch of hay and stuff in it. I didn't get to see it, but the other boys were telling me what was in it, and all. Now they pulled me right up. I got right up on it was a town built in a valley. And we come up on a hill and all these houses down there, I could see the darn houses with the roof on. They were so low down. And you could see off across that valley, Well, I pulled up on this kind of a pedestal looking thing there where I could see over the tops of them houses. Some of the other boys went around the other way, but there was one guy in the armored car, he went around there, and they got in the burgomaster's house. Well, there was a bunch of German soldiers in there, and they got to fighting around there, and directly they hollered, "We better get out of here." So they backed off and shot 3 or 4 rounds in this burgomaster's house with them 37s on that armored car. And I let all of them go out, and then I backed out of town. I just kept that armor-plated windshield between me and in case there was, some shots. Well, we'd been shooting one another. They'd been shooting at us too. But
It was an armor-plated windshield, meaning there was just slits in it?
yeah, I just had about a half, 3/4 inch slit, about 2 inches long, to peek through. And
It was up like the windshield, so you
yeah,
had
it
to
was
lean,
right in place with windshield.
so you had to set forward quite a bit to see through it well. See what
Well,
was
I
running.
could see over it if I wasn't in any danger. If I was in any danger, I stooped down below it. And they had wings on the side of it, about a foot long, to protect me from kind of a side angle shot. I could get in behind that if I.
Was the engine protected too?
No. This was just the replacement for the windshield to keep them being able to shoot through there and get me.
Well, if they shot through the engine block, could they go through the firewall or anything?
Well, it probably could have, but this was just more or less a protection against snipers and stuff.
Yes, my shooting at you, right?
And like I said, I just, when I started backing out of that place there, I just put my head down in under my left arm before I could see the road. And hell, I drove that son of a gun backwards just fast as fast as it go. I don't know how fast that was.
Yeah.
But we backed out there about half, 3/4 miles, something like that. And then they turned around and took them 50 calibers on them armored cars and set that barn stuff on fire. They knew where hay and stuff was. And then we set that town word that if they didn't surrender that town to us that night, we couldn't get no artillery support. But if they didn't surrender that town to us, we were going to shell it.
Did you just run into civilians out there that were coming to you to
Well,
be with you, or?
They was just one going toward town out there somewhere, and they caught him and sent word down there that if he did to go down and take him word. And we backed up to this little grocery store type deal place back there. And I was on guard that night at 8 o'clock, right at sharp up 8 o'clock. I heard them and shells start coming over from the artillery. And they just blowed the heck out of that place down there. They put AT in, white phosphorus, and everything else all over.
Do you know how far the guns had to shoot? How far
No,
behind you?
I couldn't even hear the report of the gun. All I could hear was the shells as they came over. I knew what they were doing. I knew that was what they were doing, was shelling that town.
Could they pinpoint an area very well?
Oh yeah.
They could pinpoint a building.
Oh, well, yeah, if they had an observer. You know, they'd have to
Well,
have.
that's what you guys were doing, was acting as.
No, we wasn't acting as an observer. They had observers of their own. We just called for support, and we couldn't get it, you know, until they got to us now. But where they put the observer, I don't know.
So they'd have to get an observer in the area to,
Yeah,
to sit back.
they'd have an observer in here if they, you know, if they would want one. But that's what it said. They shelled that town that night. Well, I didn't get back in that town for a day or two. And while I was there on that pedestal looking, I shot a German way off over there, and when I did finally get back, I wanted to see where that German was at that I shot. I knew in reason that he had a new Luger on it, and I went down there trying to find it. And I never could find the darn thing, and later on after we got talking, the old boy told me he got it. He was the one that got that Luger. He knew where it was at too, but he went and got it before I got to it or afterwards. Anyhow, I never did find it.
Did you guys use their weapons any when you took them? Did you have any?
I carried German Luger all the time.
How did you get ammunition for it? Just take it
Oh
away from
well, we had access to it. We'd capture ammunition and stuff along.
But you found what were you using? You had
I was using a Tommy gun. That was my regular weapon.
this shoot 45 caliber.
Shooting 45 caliber with a clip, maybe 12, 18 inches long. I don't remember how many rounds it holds.
And have a wooden stock.
Yeah.
How long was it? About that long?
Oh, the old gun wasn't over about 30 inches. And I carried the gun, set the gun on the left-hand side of me with it. With a clip sticking out between my arms. It rolled right here with a clip right out on my arm. I couldn't get off of the Jeep, but it you know, wasn't no way for it to bounce off.
So you had what was on the Jeep? You had a 50 caliber or
And
30
no,
caliber?
mine had 230s. They did on some of them have a 50 caliber mounted in the center on the pedestal, and then a 30 on the windshield. But mine had 230s, one on the pedestal and one on
So
the
you'd
windshield.
ride with two gunners, one guy sitting in the front seat, and one
Yeah.
guy sitting in the back.
One guy sitting in the back. That was my.
So he really had. Was he up high enough where that armor-plated shield for the windshield?
No,
wouldn't
he
protect
sat on the level just with the seat, just like I did. But the gun was mounted right on top of that windshield. And then this guy in the back, he didn't have no protection at all. He was
That's
just
what I
sitting
meant. He didn't have any protection. He was just riding out
there.
there.
He was just riding up there.
Did you lose a lot of those guys?
Huh?
Were those guys very? Did they get shot a lot for sniping?
No, not mine. Some of them did, yeah. Yeah, some of them did.
Well, so it depending on if you were leading the column, that guy sitting up there, he looks like he'd be the first one to go.
Well, yeah, but we always, that guy was well, I'll just have to tell you, that's where God come in and saved us. That's about how I was going to make that. That old boy, we run into a place over there and we had some Germans in a foxhole, had 3 in a foxhole, and he was shooting in there. And we was all watching, there was a whole crew behind us, a whole column behind us. And after 2 of them got out and run, and one of them got to hollering and surrendered. And after it's over, he told me, he said, I was just praying I wouldn't hit one of them, that I didn't want to kill nobody. I said, by God, you better, in a situation like that, you
Was
really
he,
ought to.
was he new up there?
Huh?
Was that his?
Oh, no, that was his job. That is, he was
doing that for a
he
while.
was just that religious.
Uh-huh.
He was a good man. I wouldn't have done without him at all. Almighty, he had good eyes and he could see stuff that I couldn't think about seeing, you know, me driving. But he could see his German mind got sometimes much as 2 or 3 miles away, looked like, you know, that I couldn't see.
What range did he have with that 30 caliber?
Oh, I don't remember. Seemed to me like the sights on there, you could elevate at about 1,500 yards. I'm not sure, I've forgotten.
Yeah, you were telling about you had shot that one German with a blonde rifle across the valley, and you'd set it up to the highest.
Yeah, I set it at the highest mark. I don't remember what it was, but it seemed to me that it was about 1,500. Maybe I may be wrong on what the elevation was. Well, that was when I seen that when I shot that with that blonde rifle was when I said about being in this little house. And of course there was a whole bunch of other incidents happened now on the first day of March 1945. We attacked the town of Lambertsburg, Germany. And this was in that
You couldn't have been with the unit more than a month or so, a couple of months.
1 month, about so. But man, there's been lots of stuff happened. Some of the days I can tell you about seemed to me like it was a month long.
Yeah.
you know, so many things happen.
Did you go right to, you were a driver right away?
Yeah. And just as soon as they started moving.
No,
When
I
I
mean,
went
your
when I
first-
went to the outfit, the guy that was driving my Jeep, they had lost a tank commander. They put him in charge of the tanks and put me on the Jeep. The first move they made after I went to them. First time, you know, we all got in a vehicle. Well, that
You
was,
stayed Jeep driver the whole way through?
and I stayed a Jeep driver all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I say, on the first day of March, we pulled into WWII, Germany, early in the morning, and Lieutenant Norman Samuel was the commander of my outfit. And I don't know why he always got either in front or got right one or two vehicles back. But that morning, he put me in front, and he got about 5 or 6 vehicles back. I guess he had some intuition or something that told him. But anyhow, we was attacking Lambertsburg, Germany. We were going down the road rather to Lambertsburg, and that's where we run into these 3 that was in this foxhole. Was on the road between Whiteboro and Lambertsburg. And coming into Lambertsburg, the way we came in, the road we came in on, we made over a 90-degree turn to the left. You come up to a cemetery, and you made over a 90-degree turn to the left to follow the road into town. Well, up in the cemetery, they was up there, man, I mean, they were just shooting the hell out of us. And this road coming up to the cemetery was kind of behind a cliff where we had a little protection, you know, till we got right up there to the corner. Mm-hmm. Well, when we got right up to the corner, that's when both my guns ruptured shells in the barrel. And so they pulled me out and told me to get back and fall out of line and let another guy take my place. Well, I just pulled over next to this cliff and stayed there, you know, for protection. My gunners got off and went with somebody else. Went some other way, I don't know where they went to, but they left me. And the guy that took my place, he had a 50 and a 30 on his Jeep. And they went on around, and when the column got by me, well, I followed them into town, and when I got up there in town, well, this Lieutenant Sonny Smith had been shot. He had come in, he was from another outfit, he'd come in from another direction on the town, and they told me, said, Sonny Smith, said, Lieutenant Sonny Smith needs to be took back to the medics. Well, there wasn't no medics nowhere near us. We done run plumb off and left them. Mm-hmm. And so they loaded him in my Jeep, and I took off back toward Waxwell with him. And I got back there, I had a little, I think what they call a 510 radio or something. Anyhow, it was something about like a telephone on my Jeep. And I got back to the medics and unloaded him and started back up. Well, I heard our radio operator hollering and said, get them damn medics up here. Well, I didn't know what it was, but I got back up about where I picked up Sonny Smith. They was pulling Norman Samuels out of this army car. He'd been getting hit. He'd been in the turret of this army car, and for some reason he got hit. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows, you know what. There was so much going on, you didn't ask no questions. You just kept going. Well, and I got back up there. I seen this guy that had relieved me, the driver of the Jeep that had relieved me there at that corner. He had blood all over him, man. He looked awful. But it was his gunners that got hit, and he was trying to protect them, but he got blood on him. So they loaded me and him and 2 more guys. Now I can't remember who they was, but they told us to get on the Jeep and go through Lambertsburg to the other side. And there was a sergeant in charge of this army car that told us this. And he said, I'll follow y'all over there and give you cover while y'all go reconnoiter the area. Well, we got over there, and me and the guy that had been driving this other Jeep, we went to the right, and the other 2 boys went to the left. Well, this army car pulled up. He pulled up there and turned around, and last time I looked, I seen him. He was standing in the turret of this armored car, but he had done turned the armored car around and headed back toward where he come in. Me and this boy, we run to this building on the right, and I seen Germans running across the hill, running away from town. And they told us that it was the SS that was running. Well, back behind us, they got about 150 prisoners out of that town of Lambertsburg. What they done with them, where they done, I don't know. You didn't stop me ask questions like that. But anyhow, when we got to this building, I turned around and looked, and that sergeant that had told us this, he had took off with that army car and went back down to where the rest of them were, and left us stranded up there. Left 4 of us stranded up there. And they said he went back down and told the captain to be careful when you go up there. Said, I got 4 men stranded up there. Well, he did. And that was the sergeant that I told later on that was the second time he'd run off and left me. And I told him, I said, you won't never do it again. I said, I'll kill you before I ever let you leave me again like that. Because where's he going to get me killed if he kept fooling around like that? And I think that's really what he had in mind. But anyhow.
Did you go through Koblenz? For some reason I remember seeing Koblenz you went through.
Yeah, I went through Koblenz.
Was that before or after Lambertsburg, you know?
That was after.
After.
Prune River was Eberweckwaller, if you can see, if you happen to see a river. P-R-U-N-M-E, I believe, or P-R-U-N-E, I don't remember which it is. It's not, that one wasn't too far from the R River.
Okay, so they don't probably show it because it's so small, or maybe it's down here. Sarahsburg, Orpestein, any of that sound?
No, none of them. Them names in that map has probably made you no sense.
Yeah.
Let me look at it and I can tell you.
Well,
pretty close.
Koblenz is right there.
Well, we worked our way on across to Koblenz.
Luxembourg is probably right in here, and this is probably what you call it, R.
Well, that's Salzburg. Yeah, I remember it. I remember it.
So you worked your way up through here.
Yeah. Pittsburgh is mentioned in our annual, in our manual, I believe. Of course, as a outfit. Well, there's Prune, I believe. Maybe I may be wrong. I don't remember just where we were at, but anyhow, we worked our way on across into Koblenz. When we pulled into Koblenz, I don't remember where we were at. But anyhow, they sent a crew in to Koblenz we went up there to relieve some people. I don't remember what outfit it was. There's an army or division or something up there. And we went up to relieve them in Koblenz. And my sergeant at that time, well, that was after the first day of March. All I remember was I remember the officer that was in charge. The sergeant that was in charge that day, he was a pretty good boy. He never would think nowhere that he was willing to go himself. But anyhow, he had went up and reconnoitered the place, and he was sitting on the front of my Jeep directing me to where to go. And he told me, he said, don't stop in this intersection. We're going across the intersection there in Koblenz. And I didn't understand what he said, and all I heard was stop. And so I stopped right in that intersection. And they started shooting at us from across the river, Rhine River. And when they started shooting at us, well, I shoved it in reverse and backed up, and I like to throw them off. I did lose my bedroll, and a bunch of stuff on my Jeep, But we got out of there and got located. And the lieutenant was going to stay with us. And another, actually the oldest sergeant of the outfit after was going to be in our area with us. But we hadn't been located there just a little while, maybe an hour or so. Somebody called the lieutenant, said, Lieutenant, had come down here, said, I found a bottle of champagne made in 18. Of course, he done got so damn drunk, he didn't know what he was talking about. But anyhow, the lieutenant, he went somewhere else. And this sergeant then, later on in the afternoon, nearly getting there dark, he told us, he said, I'm going to go check the phone lines out and be sure we got good phone lines. And he took off and went down there and shot himself in the hand by God. Everybody knows that he done it intentionally, because he was mad when Samuel got killed that day. He just went completely depressed. He just went crazy. And but anyhow, he went back down there and shot himself, and that we lost him. We finally found out up in the night that he got wounded, he got hurt big time. Well, that left us down there by ourselves. And so we was there, I don't remember how many days, but we had a outpost during the day between, there was the river, and then up about 100 yards, there was a railroad track, and then there was a highway, and we were over beyond the highway in a field. And during the day, we would be in a hole down between the railroad track and the river. And then at night, well, we'd pull out of there and go back up and get between the railroad and the highway. Because we didn't want the Germans to know where we was at during the night. Mm-hmm. Well, me and the old boy was on guard there one night. On this, there was a gravel pile between the railroad and the highway. I heard them shooting over there, and I couldn't tell what was going on. I could hear boat paddles, paddles and everything, rumbling around. And after I heard these boats and stuff, well, I heard a bunch of shooting. It sounded like, and my mind gathered that there was a patrol come across the river, and they come up to that hole where we were at during the day, and they were shooting in it. Well, a few minutes we laid there, and directly I silhouetted a man between me and the river down there, slipping down the bank of the river. Well, I opened up on him. Well, the boy, I opened up, I just had an M1. The boy that was with me, he was laying on a machine gun. And I don't know, he fumbled around, but anyhow, he couldn't get the machine gun going or wouldn't do it or something. And I got over on it, and I shot around to my M1 and got over on the machine gun. And I think I shot 2 tracer bullets. I believe we had 4 rounds of ammunition and a tracer. I forgot just exactly, but I think I shot 2 tracer bullets. We had another boy then on an armored car back over for the building where they were sleeping, and he was on the armored car in the turret with a 50 caliber. He told me, he said, I was waiting for your 3rd tracer before I started it. He didn't know what it was. Well, this German, when I started shooting, he just fell down and started squalling, taking on, wanting to surrender. And I was scared that it was patrol, and that was just the advanced man of the patrol. I would never identify myself or where I was at or anything. This other boy, he jumped up and run back in the house to get the rest of the men out. And I laid there just with a cover on this one man that was down. Directly, the sergeant and some of them come out there and got this old boy out, got him to come out. Took him in there and got checking, found out he was escaping. He was
Surrendering.
He was converting the German army, And that was what they're shooting and all. When I heard him getting in the boat, he was getting in the boat trying to get away. And when I heard him shooting, the Germans were shooting at him. But anyhow, later on, this is that sergeant that I done threatened to kill. And he told me later on, he said, boy, I don't never want you to hit me down like that. I let that German lay there and holler till that boy went in there and got them all out, and they all got out there. And he laying there squalling, wanting me to let him surrender. I just let him hang. Hell, I wasn't fixing to let him know where I was at. But anyhow, he told me later on, he said, I sure don't ever let you get an advantage of me like that. I said, by God, you better not. But anyhow, that was...
So you guys went on across Koblenz, do you know?
We went up to Beauport, I believe is the name of the place. We went really south, I think is where it was, that we crossed the Rhine River at. And then we just took on off across country at various places across Germany. And when the war was over, we were in Czechoslovakia.
The war was over in what, August?
May
of 45?
About 8th of May, over there. Now, you see, what you're thinking about, Japan surrendered in August.
Okay, so it was over in May, so it took you approximately 2 months to get over to Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, because we just traversing back and forth across there, different places. They liable to run us over for at least one night between certain places, and then next time we may go somewhere else. We never did have no, and like I said, we'd be attached to this outfit for maybe the day, and tomorrow we'd be attached to another outfit, or another outfit be attached to us. It just, it was a fluid situation, and then you never did know what was doing.
So from Czechoslovakia, you were immediately assigned to Berlin, or you went
No, we went down into the state of Turin, Germany. T-R-U-H or T-U-R-H, I forgot which it is. It's in the Russian zone now. And some of our men, we were scattered all the way from Königsberg down into Nuremberg. Now, I don't remember where all, but there was quite a few. I think roughly a round figure of 2,800 men there. We were scattered from pretty good sized areas out there. But I was actually stationed in Königsberg.
2,800 over a large area, or was it?
Over, of our group, of the 6 caliber group. We had men, all scattered all around.
They were mixed with other units then?
Well, not necessarily at that, but there was some, I guess, with other units, but we had a segment there, and our job was to maintain and occupy the state of Turin, and which it was traded to Russia for our sector of Berlin. Mm-hmm. Well, the 2nd Armored Division went into Berlin and took it actually from the Russians. The Russians relieved it. Well, at the time the 2nd Armored Division was taking Berlin away from the Russians was taking the state of Turin away from us down there in southern Germany. Well, as soon as we got relieved down there, well, we circled around through Frankfurt and Kassel and went up to into Berlin on the Autobahn. And then we relieved the 2nd Armored Division. And we stayed up there and occupied until some paratrooper. 82nd, what I was
82nd Airborne, or?
don't believe it was 82nd. Wasn't there a 2nd Airborne? Or?
It was 101st and 82nd. I don't know what it was then.
Probably 82nd. I don't remember. There was an airborne outfit relieved come up there and took over from us in Berlin. And of course, at the time, about the time that I left Berlin coming home, I think we had relinquished nearly all of our holdings due then. When we went up, they billeted us in what they call the SS barracks. I don't know what it was, but we wasn't there very long, 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks maybe, and they told us we had to move out and move into some other areas because of this airborne division was coming in, and they took the areas, you know, that they wanted. And we went into a residential section over there, into a housing deal there in Berlin. And of course, I left out of there in October of 45. Thought I was coming home, or which it was, starting toward home. But we left out of there and worked our way around to France, and then we were down in France.
Was there any talk of sending you to the South Pacific, or any of your division going to the South Pacific?
Well, that's what we were expecting, but you know, by the time we left Berlin, when we were down there in July in Turin, in the state of Turin, well, we were expecting to go to Berlin, go to the Pacific. We didn't know even. Let's see, July, August. It was August, you know, that the surrender. Well, in July, they worked us around going to Berlin. I figured that they decided then that there would be no need of us going, although there were some of the other units that did go to the Pacific. You know, just as soon as the May war was over, they started toward the Pacific. And it was rumored that we were to go, but we never did, they never did.
So you stayed in, when did you get to Berlin? July?
Sometime first part of July, I don't remember just
exactly. So
exactly.
you were there from July to October?
Yeah. And then while I was there, I made a pass to Nice, France. I think I was down there about a week. I don't remember just how long. It was just a pass. While we were just.
When did you meet Ellen and Elvis? When did you see Ellen and Elvis?
I never did see them over there.
I thought you guys.
No, I never was around them. I never was close to them. In other words, I think both of them come home. You know, before I got over there or something. I don't remember just exactly how. I've forgotten what, but I'm pretty sure that they were home before I got over there. But we come back out of Berlin in I don't remember just when. I believe though it was 22nd of October that we left Berlin, thinking we were on our way home.
Well, when you were in Berlin, you were just pulling police duties, or?
Yeah, we were just on occupation, Army of Occupation is what it was called.
So you had to pull patrols and that kind of thing?
Oh yeah. For a while we run that Autobahn coming up from Berlin up to the American sector, British sector. What was the name of that? I can't remember what the name of that little place was up there where the Russian gate is, the Russian sector starts. About it, nearly 100 miles out of Berlin. And we would run convoys. We would run up there with armored cars and jeeps and stuff and run a convoy to that Russian sector while I was in Berlin. Because of if a vehicle dropped out, like if a vehicle was loaded, broke down on that Autobahn, we never did see it yet. The Russians would take it. And so they used us to convoy them. We had radio contact. We'd have one vehicle in front and one behind, and if a vehicle dropped out, well, we'd stop the column until we got it pulled to it or do something.
Was there ever any fighting, or just?
No, it really wasn't no fighting. It was just the way they let the Russians do. See, after Harry Truman took over, it just turned into hate. That's all it was. Because
When did Roosevelt die?
May. I don't know whether he was alive when the war was over or not. But it was.
He had just come back from Yalta or somewhere, I think.
Yeah, In the meantime, in this process, uh, seems to me that they had that Yalta convention and something other like that, and then later on they had a Potsdam convention. Well, Harry Truman come over as president then at the Potsdam.
Potsdam's the one he died after he come back from. That's what
No, well, and he may have been. They may have had two of them. But Harry Truman was president over there at the Potsdam Convention. And that's when he took our guns away from us there in Berlin. That's when Harry Truman.
That's right. Roosevelt died after Yalta, and then Truman come over there in Potsdam. Yeah.
That must be the way it was. You know, you'd have to get history books to find out for sure,
Yeah.
date-wise. But apparently that's what happened.
So you come back from Berlin, you went back to Fort Hood?
No, I come back from Berlin. See, we come into France. When I left Berlin, I was assigned to the 713th MP Battalion, I believe. Some MP battalion. We were just, replacement being moved.
You had to get so many points to get out of the Army?
Yeah, at that time, there was a controversy over my eligibility to come home. And the reason of that, they didn't give me 5 points for one of my campaigns. And I forgot now what it was, where it was at. But the executive officer in the squadron headquarters told the squadron clerk that it would go on my record, to put it on my record, that I was entitled to it. And then my company commander, he said he wasn't going to let me go. And so the night before I was to skip out, I said something about it, and he said, "You're not going." And I said, "Well, I got you waiting with me." My company commander told me.
Why did he not want you to leave?
Well, really, I was the only radio maintenance man he had. I was radio maintenance, and he didn't have nobody to replace me. And that was the reason he didn't want me to leave. But then, I don't know whether I was smart in taking it or not. I guess it was. But of course, my only idea was to get out of there. I didn't want no part of it. Really, to be honest with you, I would have probably got locked up if I'd have had to serve any time in what we call garrison army, because I do not believe in no such bullshit.
Yeah. So you come back through France, and then
They brought us on by truck back out of Berlin, somewhere down there, I don't know just where, I don't remember where, and loaded us on a train, and then they brought us back through Holland, Belgium, and all down, I don't know just how that train come through there, but I remember coming through Holland. I forgot what the name of the town was and all. And they brought us back down there to Camp Lucky's track. It was a staging area for bringing people home. And we was there at Camp Lucky's track about a week, and then they told us that as an MP battalion, MP outfit, they were going to send us down to Bullbec, France, and we went to Bullbec, France and stayed there nearly 30 days before ever they took us across the channel.
being MPs?
Well, yeah, but you know what kind of MPs we was with combat soldiers. Combat soldiers is different than anything on earth. You don't find nobody. I had average soldier in the ETO had 90 days of combat. I had 92 days on my record, which gives me more than the average amount of combat time in the ETO. And you don't mess with guys like that. Whether you believe it or not, they're just a different bunch of people. And that's what's wrong with a lot of the veterans programs now. They got everybody that never had any damn experience at all trying to administer combat veterans programs. Just like these Vietnam veterans. If they had any sense, they could handle them Vietnam veterans. But they ain't got no sense. They got these damn people who want to play politics with them.
Yeah, this kid across the street worked in a chemical dump in Vietnam. He's got every bad effect there ever was from Agent Orange and all the other chemicals. He can't get a job. They're afraid of his health. Anyway.
Some of it is mental problem and some of it is actual physical problem. But it's a disgrace to this nation. Now, I don't give a damn who likes it or who don't like it. It's a disgrace to this nation to think that them boys exposed to that Agent Orange had to go to the court. And right now, I cannot sue the federal government.
Yeah.
Well, that's a damn bunch of bull.
So you come back from France to where?
Bullbec, France. We stayed there until they thought they had a ship for us, or that is, they loaded us on boats and carried us back over to Southampton. and we were sitting there waiting on a boat. Of course, they had all the boats occupied that was available. They unloaded the battleship Washington here in the United States, and they said they had only half crew on it, had it loaded for everything, come over there to pick up George Patton and his Army headquarters. Well, in the meantime, by the time it left the United States till it got over there, he got killed. So when it got over there, instead of bringing him back, it looked up and I got on it coming home. Now, I don't know how many about, it wasn't too often many on.
What was the ship?
Battleship Washington.
Battleship Washington.
That was it, but they had prepared it for George Patton and his army, his headquarters. And like I said, when we got on there, we had luxury deluxe compared to regular troop deal. Well, we had luxury stuff.
Did they bring any of Patton's army? You
No,
said that they
nothing
brought.
come back. They canceled all of their coming in.
They didn't bring Patton's body back.
Well, I don't know about that. Now, if they did, they flew it back or some other way. You know, it didn't come back. The ship didn't load up. The Queen Mary come across, and I don't remember what else, but I remember as we went up to the dock to get on this battleship, the Queen Mary was leaving out of port there, and they said it was loaded with troops coming to the States. Well, they loaded us up, and then we got out there, and I don't remember the first evening out. The sea was real calm. Everything was just as nice and pretty as you could ask for. And sometime during the night, I guess it was, we hit rough waters. And excuse man, we didn't ever have nothing but hell from there on. We lost compartments on that ship and everything else. We hadn't been on a battleship. The captain of that battleship said that was the roughest time he had in 20-some odd years at sea.
Lost compartments meaning they filled with water.
Yeah.
And just shut them off.
Yeah, they just shut them off.
Uh-huh.
When we come into New York, we've been in such a storm, and when we come into New York, there wasn't a life raft on the boat. And a lot of them anti-aircraft gun shields that they had out there, they have shield up there and a gun, you know, in swinging for anti-aircraft guns. Hell, they were just twisted like tin cans on that damn boat. The water had even washed the rails off the boat. They said something about, we went about 3 days. There wasn't nobody out on deck at all, nobody out at all. And they just go along blowing the horn on that ship. It just seemed like nearly every breath, they'd blow the horn on that ship.
What was the horn for?
In case another ship was close by, to let them know, you know, that we were there. They didn't have no observation.
They didn't have radar or anything then?
I probably did, but they didn't. Somehow they didn't use it. You know, you'd see it when what of it I could see, what I see. You'd see it look like these mountains. They were bigger than these mountains coming, and there wouldn't be nothing water. You know, that storm had that water. One time they told us we were 2 miles. And we see one going across there, and he says, "Watch me." He had a BAR, which is about the same as a machine gun. But he had this BAR, and he set the sight to his eyes, he could get it. And I don't know how close he got to that German, but just about the time that bullet had time to get there, that old boy hit the ground just like he had hit him. In a few minutes, that boy got up and he just run like a... I imagine he just got close enough, that bullet, you know, the German thought somebody was a sniper. Well, he was actually a sniper, but then he thought it would maybe be closer than what he was. But I'm sure he didn't hit that guy. But they said I hit that guy that I had with a machine gun. That day that this happened, we started out and everything kind of routine, normal. And I was driving down the road needing a call. Driving down a blacktop asphalt road. Well, first of all, we run into a roadblock where they pulled a bunch of trees and stuff across the road. We never did try to clear a roadblock out ourselves because they put booby traps in it. So we just went around and instead of trying to move the roadblock. And as we got off of the blacktop, well, there was about 10 or 12 Germans out there, and we fooled around and we captured them. That's where I got them 2 knives. That was off of a German officer right there that day. And we loaded them on the back of one of the armored cars, started on down the road. There were 2 Germans behind the brush pile, looked like maybe 50, 75 yards from the road. And they stepped out behind that brush pile and fired a bazooka type deal at me being in the front vehicle. And the old boy in the back seat said that come right over my Jeep, but it hit over on the other side and busted my water tank on the Jeep. That's how close it got to him. But it did go right there directly, I guess, over. He said it did. But I got a glimpse of it out of my eye. It traveled about like a football. You know, it was about as fast as the bazooka type shells travel. And we got out of that, and then we went into this town a little later on, and they pulled a counterattack on us, and we had to run out of there. We got out of there, and we had them prisoners. I remember, we didn't take them into that town with us. I don't remember what we had done with the one first we caught. But we went into this little town, and we got about a dozen there, and they were standing behind me when I shot at this one with that machine gun. They pulled a counterattack. We backed out there, and we burned a barn or two with some tracer bullets. And sent word down there by some of the civilians that if they didn't surrender that town by night, we'd go to shell it as soon as we could get some support for artillery. About 8 o'clock at night, I was on guard, and I heard it start coming over. Man, they just tore it down all day. I mean, white phosphorus and HE and everything else.
White phosphorus to start firing.
Yeah. They really tore that down.
Most of the towns, most of the buildings were brick, weren't they?
A lot of them was. But in this town, the burgomaster's house was brick. And when they pulled this counterattack on us, there was some boys in the burgomaster's house. They was off a little way from me. I didn't know they was in there, but we was all, just congregating, trying to see how close we could get in and what we could do. And they backed off and shot a couple of rounds with that 37 into that brick house. And of course, I don't know, really, they just knocked them holes in it. That's all you can say. But some of the houses was framed, but most of them were brick. Brick or something.
What's the 37?
Oh, it was about that big around. I don't know, 37 millimeter. Now
Like a mortar?
No, it was more like a artillery piece. I don't remember just, a 78 is about that big around. A 37 would be, I don't know,
It's the
just,
size of the shell.
yeah. 37
I'm
millimeter.
trying to think of what kind of gun it'd be.
It had a barrel about 6 foot long on it. It was mounted on a turret. That was the Army called it. Kind of like a 90 millimeter on them tanks,
But when they explode, they throw shrapnel, right?
Well, we had different types of shells. We had ATs, we had, I don't know what they call them, but we had them that shot just like a buckshot. We had shots at them. We had all different types of ammunition for that 37. And when they shot at the building that way, I don't know what they used, but they could shoot AT or armor piercing.
Explode, yeah. Okay.
They could shoot armor piercing or AT or whatever. I don't know what they like that. I don't know what they used.
So you guys never had a tank with you?
Not usually.
Could you move faster if you didn't have a tank, or would a tank?
Well, yes, we really could, because the only time we had a tank was when we moved in a convoy of all of them. We had tanks, had some M24s in our outfit, but they was in a tank battalion. A tank
They all
squadron.
travel together?
When we traveled together, like on the Audubon and everything, we had tanks. They were as a cavalry troop. We traveled as a troop. We had tanks with us. We'd have one troop of TDs, one troop of tanks, and 2 or 3 troops of other stuff. Not troops. Yeah, troops. That's what I'm saying, troops. So when we traveled as a squadron, we traveled with all troops together.
Those tanks must have really tore up the Audubon.
Now they were kind of rubber padded.
Tread what?
Tread, it sounded like hell, but
Yeah, I was thinking, I always thought they had steel tread.
no, most of ours had a soft tread that's deep. Like that M1, and they could travel, they traveled 6 miles an hour.
So they were slow.
No, they wasn't slow, but they were just, wasn't maneuverable.
They didn't have a very good gun on them.
I don't remember what they had on them. Seemed to me like 78s, about as high as they had. There was some 90 millimeter tanks, but we didn't have them. I know one day we were traveling along there. We had a squadron of tanks with us. And we seen some fresh tracks. We knew the Germans had had some tanks in that area, but we didn't know exactly where. Strictly we found them somewhere. There two Tigers had those, they had 88s on them. Hell, they tore up 90 millimeter. Whatever, whatever kind of, I don't remember what it was, but our 90 millimeter guns wouldn't hardly penetrate them 88s that the Germans had. And we run into them damn things, and boy, we couldn't get out of there fast enough. But they got scared that them Tigers were going to take out after us. And we run back over a hill there, and I don't know, I guess it must have been our commanding officer, squadron commander or something or other. They set us up and put the tanks where the guns of the tanks would just stick over the top of the hill, where they could shoot if them Tigers was following us. And all of us Jeeps and stuff was back down the hill, where they couldn't see us. And then all of a sudden we got orders to get out of there. I don't know whether the tanks were coming out of where or what, but we like to run over one another, try and get out of there, get back on the road, get the convoy, get going. I know our life got run over. Them goddamn tanks, they took off too, just like we did. Our tanks.
So your tanks couldn't penetrate the Tigers?
No.
Even with the armor-piercing shells?
Well, it wasn't that. It was Tiger just had more range than we had. Them 88s had more range.
Close enough. Okay. How much? I wonder how much range more than that.
I don't know, but they was vicious son of a gun. Boy, they was. Like I say, our 90s couldn't hardly cope with them.
But it seemed like the 90s should be able to have as much range as they.
The guy told me now when they were down in South Africa in the early part of the war that England and the United States both didn't have nothing bigger than 78. And the Germans had them 88s and said they just tearing us up. And they went in then and started putting 90 millimeters on what tanks we had. And about the only way we had to cope with them was to get some of them guys that would go out there and tank destroyers with personnel, with a bazooka type personnel, and them dismounted. But the only way we'd have to cope with them. We couldn't cope with them.
Something like a bazooka then.
Yeah, we'd go in there with a bazooka, armor-piercing bazooka or something. We didn't have nothing adequate to.
So you just try to get around inside the tank.
We try to hide in bushes or anything till we got up close enough that we could shoot a bazooka at them. That's the way they did us a lot of times.
That's the same way they do airplanes these days. If they, like the unit I was in, we took care of most of the high altitude planes that are flying at Mach 1 or Mach 2. They're up at high altitude. But we're always in danger of being hit from low-flying aircraft, something coming over the horizon. Our radars couldn't pick anything up that might hug the ground. So they would have groups of what the newest thing is called red eye. It's a heat-seeking missile. They'd set those guys out around our site so that they could catch anything that's flying low level, trying to get close to us. Shoot, they always claimed we'd be the first ones to go. Most of the missile units they would claim had a 3-minute life expectancy in the first part of the war because they claimed the terrorists would have to kill us before the planes could fly over.
We covered it yesterday. I don't know how we were dropping altitude, probably a little plane here from Hayward or somewhere, But I seen one of them little planes down there. It looked just like a darn bird. We was so much higher, than he was. He was way down there. The first time I really ever looked down, and seen a plane in flight and look down at them.
Yeah, Livermore's a big recreational airport. They've got rows and rows of hangars for people, personal airplanes.
Well, Hayward, got a pretty good airport down here. I just figured it was. I don't know. Might have been named somewhere from.
Yeah, and Livermore's has a Livermore air show every year. All these guys in their damn planes. They have World War II biplanes.
I got on a plane down there, Dallas. I guess it was a pilot. One of them standing there in the doorway said, "Are you with the Blue Angels?" I said, "No, I just got a bargain in this camps." That boy next door to Don there, come over here. I was down in the first part of March, and he said the Boy Scouts, somebody had given the Boy Scouts a bunch of these caps and T-shirts, and he was trying to sell them, and so I paid him for 2. John wanted a T-shirt, and I said, well, I'll take the cap and 1 T-shirt. I just go ahead and order 2 sets. $3 a piece. I said, hell, the cap cost me that much. And I don't know what happened, but anyhow, when I come down, Don said,
You need any caps?
no, I got plenty. What,
You ain't got none of these.
Well, I probably ain't. I'll wear them.
You might not want them.
Don gave me a Volkswagen cap. No, Valvo cap.
Those are baseball caps. Oakland A's, San Francisco.
You got more than one of them?
Oh, you can have it. I can get them anytime I go to the baseball park. They have one from every team. If you want either one, this is 2 different years. This is darker color for one year they had, and the other year they had a different color.
What do you have to pay for?
I don't know. $40 if you want one. Digital equipment's computer company. If you want any of them, you're welcome to them. I don't wear caps. Unless I go out and play golf or something, I usually just wear one of these. You want that bright green is what it's starting to do.
That'd be something different.
This is my baseball team. They played softball out there with me. Have to explain what MFWBB means.
What is it?
Well, there's different names. One of them was my friend's bat ball.
Oh. Now, Don give me one of his Valvo cap, and I think I wore it when I came out here before. I wore it one time. Anyhow, somebody on the airplane, one of the hostess on the plane, asked me if I worked for him or something. I said, no, boy gave it to me. And so he made some remark about his cap here. Oh, some time ago, anyhow, I picked it up and brought it back to him. Brought him his Valvo cap.
Yeah, I've got a couple of tapes I need to see back from too. I've got a couple of VCR tapes I need to see back from.
Nicole put my medicine stuff in her brown bag, her little black bag, you know, we put them in it. Anything small, I don't think. You ever seen them in golf clubs?
No, they're in the packaging. They're in the mail. Got to get time to go to the mailbox.
Where you have to go to the post office? Where you?
It's down the street, a couple blocks.
How big a package is it? I couldn't take it to my suitcase.
I don't think so. It's too long.
Well,
You'd probably be in danger of losing it.
Oh, I thought you had some.
No, I don't have a lot. I had 3. That's what I told him. can find them in garage sales a lot cheaper than that.
Nancy don't want it to go. Takes up too much of his time.
Sound like doing work at home takes up more than it needs to. Sound like doing work at home.
It does. She's always on about doing something else, you know, around the house. I don't think I ain't got time. I can what he does.
I'm gonna use the bathroom.
Go out there and see if you can start that car if you want to. You got one of them? You know what it is?
Yeah, I know what it is. I'm trying to get rid of my credit cards. I only keep one. I just got rid of my credit cards. I don't want them.
Well, that's the one that I got you. You know when you.
It's like the thing that we presented. Yeah.
Water welling up from these crystal clear, chemically rich pools is so scaldingly hot that no creature can live.
If you don't want it, dispose of it, but that's the one I got on mine, you know, when you.
That is really.
I'll put it in here, but I won't use it. I've got mine.
But they break the surface and dilute the flow of water so that in parts they're cool enough to allow brine fires to settle.
See, I got plenty of credit cards. I just tired of them. We paid them all off and gonna try to get away from them.
Well, I'll tell you what I hold mine for now. If you want something,
Sandia gives me a credit card so that I can pay my bills so they don't have to pay me money to carry around with me.
this Discovery card, they say that it's gonna fill the bill of many a credit card. I don't remember. What? They say that it's worth $2,000. You got a $2,000 limit on it. And that you can borrow on it if you need a quick cash. You can pay high interest, but then you'll have more damn sense to borrow if you don't need it. You don't just borrow, you don't just use a credit card like that because you got it, you use it. Now, I bought that camera on my Visa card. And I did put $1,000 on it. Edna was gonna do that, and they refused to take a slip sale on it in West Memphis. And well, she picked the goddamn tip, what she wanted, she didn't want to pay that sales tax over there. And so she come back and ordered it by mail.
Pretty gross, huh? Look at that, photography.
What in the world?
You're talking about around the hot springs, like mineral water springs, the water wells over, and it's so rich with minerals. Where it cools, this algae grows, and the flies go along and plant their eggs in it and eat on the algae. Eventually, all the eggs that are hatching will eat away the algae and cause the hot water to come in and kill them all.
No, they're saying that other insects come in and start devouring the eggs. And then
No, they said the larvae eat away the algae. They continue to eat when they start all hatching.
Well, yeah, but you didn't see that other part though, where those other insects were.
Sure I did. They're saying those other insects eat the larvae.
Right. Or each other. So we'll see if we can get all of them.
The hot volcanic springs of the Rift Valley in Africa also support their own crops of bacteria and the small floating algae that feed on them. But here the creatures that come to harvest them,
Hello there, kitty cat.
flamingos, sometimes as many
You better make a nuisance.
on this
That dog down there, ain't you? Eh?
So, no, I'm much more temperamental.
These lesser flamingos feed entirely on sickle-cell algae that proliferate in vast quantities in these steaming soda-rich waters.
Well, that dog will come around there.
These remove
Like, open my door or something other and then look at you just like a great goody eye.
She's looking for those birds.
inside them, which strain off the algae as the water.
See, I hear them, but I don't see them.
Man, ain't that a bunch of them?
See how living creatures can benefit from the chemical riches of volcanoes when they're dissolved in the waters of hot springs.
How in the world do they all get enough to eat on?
How any living
They're eating algae in the water.
from a basalt lava flow. Its surface, in many places, is as smooth and as hard as glass. Neither frost nor roots of plants can initially make any impression.
I still don't know how you hurt your sacroiliac playing golf. And I don't understand why Mr. Spacely would want to play golf on a Wednesday. He's not a doctor.
If I told you, you wouldn't believe me.
Now just lie still and enjoy a brisk